In a moment, you will have 10 seconds to gather your belongings, stand up, and switch to an entirely new seat. Again, an entirely new seat will be yours, and you will have 10 seconds when I say go. Ready? Go! 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, come on, 4, 3, 2, 1. Yes! Excellent! My name is Jasmine Henderson. Hello! And welcome. I am a former professional soccer player, world record holder, author, and mother. Sometimes we can get so impressed with the titles that we overlook the surprises that it took to get there. Today, I'm going to be sharing with you some of the big surprises that I've had along the way and answer the question, how do I thrive in life through the surprises? You know, a recent study from Wrangler showed that 81% of Americans actually admit to being stuck in a routine. 81%. And the same study actually says that the average person has had the same wardrobe for 5 years. And that 1 in 5 people have had the same routine for over 10 years. And let's be honest, half of the poll said that they watch their shows at the same time, and 90% say that they never get tired of watching the same show multiple times. Okay, that's me. Hello, Netflix. That's totally me. And what I've come to notice is that most of us are creatures of habit. So what happens when the surprises come? When you lose your job? When you file for divorce? When the doctor diagnoses you or someone that you love with a serious illness? I've come to discover one thing that is true. In order to thrive after a surprise, you get to be willing to let go of everything that you thought you knew or expected so that something else inside you can live. You get to die to live. Tonight, I'll be sharing with you 3 keys that can support you on your journey from death to life. You know, Spencer Johnson brilliantly illustrates how we can positively react to change in his fable, Who Moved My Cheese? It's about 2 mice, Sniff and Scurry, and 2 mice-sized people who live in a maze where every day they get to search to find their cheese in order to survive. One day, they find this huge source of cheese, and Hem and Haw decided, hey, we're gonna settle right here, never preparing for the day that it might run out. That day finally comes, and Sniff and Scurry are ready and prepared, and they proceed to go search through the maze to find new cheese, while Hem and Haw stay exactly where they're settled and cry out, "Who moved my cheese?" They can't seem to get over it. Finally, Hem decides that he's going to venture into the maze and finds new cheese after new cheese and learns many life lessons along the way. So I ask you, are you stuck on where your cheese used to be? Or are you willing to die to what you know to live? Throughout my life, my cheese has been moved plenty of times. I've had injuries and surgeries playing my sports. When I didn't like college soccer, I switched and I went and played professionally in Brazil. And when that didn't go as planned, I decided to switch altogether and become a diva in the WWE. Yes, the World Wrestling Entertainment. Nelson Mandela said that a winner is a dreamer who never gives up. I learned that the darkest nights come just before the dawn, and that although my cheese was moved, I wouldn't give up. But the biggest cheese move I ever experienced wasn't on the field or in my career. It was actually in my personal life. I was 25 and about 2 weeks away from flying to Florida to officially try out for the WWE when the unthinkable happened. I found out I was pregnant. Surprise! Not only did I experience the shock of pregnancy, but I also went from a virgin to a single mom in the span of about 4 months' time. I was in my first sexually active relationship for 3 months, broke up, and a month later, I found out I was pregnant. The man that I was involved with didn't want to be involved in all, and in that instant, I became a single mom. My expectations of having a loving and supportive partner during one of the most important times of our lives died. Raise your hand if you've ever experienced a surprise that feels like a gut punch and knocks the wind out of you. In those moments, we can feel paralyzed, we feel powerless, we're heartbroken. How was I going to get to my cheese? Not only was I experiencing all these new things, and my vision of my future husband and my family dynamic was forever changed. And my career, forget being a diva, how was I going to now navigate this as a single mom? The shock was tremendous. And I knew that no matter what, I was going to be determined to go through and do whatever it took. But another shock wave was still yet ahead of me. And not only did my cheese feel like it was moved, it felt like it was on an entirely different planet. But that actually was perfect. The surprise of motherhood actually gave me the chance to try something new. So I shifted my focus from my career to my purpose and decided that I was going to be the best woman I could be. And that's what I did. I wrote my book before my son turned 1, and I was giving presentations and spoke in high schools all over Southern California. I was moving and reinventing, but I still couldn't seem to make that connection to the woman who believed in herself. The warrior and champion that I was felt buried, but there was no way I was ready for what would happen next. When my son turned 3, he was diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder. Surprise. I cried in the meeting that day as my original hopes and expectations of his childhood and even the possibilities of his future died. When news comes like that, we can feel isolated, lost, and alone. Major changes were happening, but because I had declared I was going to be the best woman I could be, I was still determined to find my way through. I felt like my son and I had fallen into some harsh labels. The labels of being a single mom and a child with special needs seemed to want to define the rest of our lives. I didn't just want to survive, I wanted to thrive. Something had to be done. This past summer, on June 24th, 2017, I set a world record with 27 other women from around the world on Mount Kilimanjaro by playing the highest altitude soccer game ever played. Yes. At 18,746 feet, we played 90 minutes of soccer in a crater. Now, on my plane ride to Tanzania, Africa, I discovered something while journaling. You see, this had been my first real big adventure as a mother. And during my few years as a mom, I felt like I kept trying to resurrect the woman I felt I was before. I had died many different deaths, but little did I know that I would get to die one more death to finally see myself rise again. After 6 days of climbing, on the 7th day, game day, we set off at 2:30 in the morning for a 5-hour climb in the freezing cold. It was pitch black. I am known for having a stomach of iron, and of all days, I woke up that morning with an acute pain in my stomach, a pain so bad that I was doubling over every 5 minutes, a pain so bad that after 30 minutes, I was separated from my group, and eventually all I found was myself, my porter, and one of our guides. Surprise. For the first time that entire trip, I thought to myself, am I going to make it? Most of my life, I had built a reliable, self-concept, a positive one that I reinforced with the many choices that I made. I took leadership roles by being president of my classes and captain of my teams, and I challenged myself with going through 2 ACL tears and earning MVP awards. In short, I was a warrior and a champion, but sometimes a shock and a surprise can hit us so badly at our core that it causes us to question everything we believe about ourselves. We did make it to the crater, and I ended up playing the full 90 minutes. And about 30 minutes after, we made the last ascent, an hour to the summit. You know, Henry Ford said, "Whether you think you can or whether you think you can't, you're right." The first key to thriving in life after a surprise is you get to choose life. You must be determined and committed to live. You don't even have to have the experience or the foresight or any evidence that you are going to make it. Your only responsibility is your own mindset. Either you can or you can't. That morning during that grueling climb, I chose. And on the last ascent up to the crater, a question came to mind. How many times has somebody told me I can't? And a deeper question began to rise within me as I asked myself, how many times have I told myself that I can't? Tears swelled in my eyes. My own disbelief had to die. You see, while I was searching for my cheese, people told me that I was going to struggle, and I believed them. And soon it became me who was saying, I can't. This is impossible. The truth is that becoming a single mom and having a child with special needs has made me better and made me stronger. And the only way I made it up that mountain was by remembering all the surprises and all the mountains that God had given me the resilience to climb before. He wanted me to remember who I was and what I was made of. As I said, choosing life is the first step. That is the first key that you get to be determined to thrive on the other side of a surprise. Oprah Winfrey said, "We can't become what we need to be by remaining what we are." When your cheese is moved, not only do you get to be open to a new pathway, but you also get to be open to who you become because of it. Remember Ha? He stayed in the same place waiting for the cheese to come back, and he also stayed the same. The second key is to let go. Unlike Ha, Hem let go of who he had been and what he had known to move forward. We get to choose how we are going to move forward. For me, yes, I was reinventing and recreating, and I was trying something new, but I also needed to let go and let die. I could no longer be the woman who I had been. I needed to make room and allow for the new brand of warrior that I had become to live. You know, I told myself that I was climbing that mountain for my son, that he and anyone else with a label would see, believe, and know that anything and all things were possible. But what I didn't realize was that the person who needed to hear that message the most was me. I needed to let go of the labels and the lies they told in order to grab on to the woman that was waiting for me. Soccer has taught me so much. There are so many times that I have died in soccer, and this lesson of dying to live has been the greatest so far. I can remember the crazy workouts where I want to give up and almost throw up, but I die to live stronger. I can remember, the game plan that we had to beat the team that now gets changed, and so you die to become smarter. You lose the ball, and so you die to ego to know that it's okay to risk and make mistakes. Through the mistakes, I always held the hope of the beauty on the other side. And I realized that, in fact, as we've discussed today, there is no such thing as a mistake. The challenge is working through the aftermath, knowing that there is beauty even in the death. But death of any kind requires a grieving process. You get to choose to work through the emotions of the loss. Key number 3 is to experience your experience. It's okay to feel pain, to feel sadness, to feel loss. Allow frustration and self-doubt and loneliness and anger to come. Allow it to build the warrior that you were meant to be. Experience your experience. You know, I used to be really good at hiding what I like to call my messy bits. But I cannot tell you the relief that I found going home after my first ultrasound, that week that I found out that I was pregnant. And I finally allowed myself to really feel the depth of despair that I was feeling deep down inside. I let down the walls of always being upbeat and positive. I can create a wall and allow myself to not feel anything come up of my emotions. But you know what? Eventually, it will come over and hit me like a tidal wave. When I experience my experience, I tell the truth, and I am free to begin to heal. Now, I want you to think back to the very beginning of this talk when I asked you to unexpectedly change your seat. What was the conversation in your head? Were you excited and enthusiastic? Or maybe were you frustrated, annoyed? Were you maybe self-conscious of who was looking at you? Were you mad that you were asked to be moved from your comfortable seat? Or maybe you decided, I'm not gonna move at all, she can't even see me. Okay? What was your conversation, and how is that a reflection of how you approach challenges in your life? In soccer, while winning is the objective, it's not everything. Whether you won or you lost, how did you play the game? That's what makes a champion. They see every challenge, even the losses, as an opportunity. The new cheese after new cheese is an opportunity and a chance to discover more and more about yourself. Yes, you may get a physical prize or result, but the real reward is who you discover along the way. What I learned on the mountain is that if you stripped all of this away, all of the titles, all of the labels, all of the achievements, the most important part is remembering and embracing who you are at your core. Who you are, not what you are, matters. And every death that you have faced up until this point has given you an important, unique, and powerful role only you can fill. The truth is that if we want a life full of growth, we will get to die every day. Dying to live is a process. You get to choose life, let go, and experience your experience. Commit to dying every day. Now, I can walk off stage right now and maybe you'll think, oh, that was a good talk, maybe even a great talk. But what I'm more concerned about right now is your reality when you wake up tomorrow or when you leave this building. Maybe some of you that are in this very room or watching online are in the biggest surprise of your life right now. Maybe you're dying right now or have experienced death. Will you choose to let go? Are you willing to die to live? The choice is yours. Thank you.